that you read the latest version of the newsletter, because oftentimes there's going to be frequently asked questions from the sites, and oftentimes there's going to be frequently asked questions from the sites in those newsletters, and you're going to be able to be up to date. You're going to be current on the latest information directly from the sponsor, because during the frequently asked questions, it's the sponsor that's answering the frequently asked questions. IND Safety Reports is another thing. This is very important. So these are also called SUSAR reports, Suspected Unexpected Serious Adverse Reactions. These are all the SAEs that have occurred that are unexpected. So remember the investigator brochure that we just discussed on this slide? It has all the information listed about that particular drug. So they know if it's a phase 3 study, they know all the SAEs that occurred in the phase 2 study. So those are expected SAEs. Well, because phase 3 studies are longer, they give opportunity for more unexpected SAEs that were never captured in the phase 2 study. So these would be unexpected serious adverse reactions that are suspected to be due to the study drug. So this is called SUSAR reports, also called IND Safety Reports, and these should include correspondence with the IRB. The IRB is the one that distributes this in collaboration with the sponsor. They distribute this to all the sites participating in not only this study, but all the studies that are using all the protocols that are using this particular investigational product. So the IND safety reports, the PI actually needs to acknowledge that he or she read the IND safety report, which again is called a SUSAR report. They could be used interchangeably. So they have to initial and date every IND safety report. Advertising, educational materials, any IRB approved advertisements, recruitment flyers, written educational or other materials provided to study participants need to be stored in reverse chronological order. And these are going to be in the advertising section of the investigator site file. Sample tracking and shipping. So this section should include a master log that allows tracking of research specimen sample collections, shipment or transport, and storage and packing and shipping training certification. So shippers of receipts can be placed in this section or in individual subject files. So this is for things like PK samples, lab samples, anything that requires IATA training, if you remember IATA, which is the certificate needed to for anyone at the site level who is shipping biological substances. Okay, it's IATA actually stands for the International Air Transport Association. Anyone at the site level who's shipping lab samples needs to get the IATA training. And investigational test article. This section includes shipment records, site accountability records, subject drug accountability records, otherwise known as DARFs, DARF, device log, everything related to the IP, basically the blind break instructions, the IVRS system instructions, the master accountability log, then the specific subject drug accountability logs, which the site can either store these logs in the individual subject binders, or they can choose to store them in the investigator site file. When I was a coordinator, and even as a CRA, I prefer the sites to store the master drug accountability log in the investigative site file, while the individual subject drug accountability logs I prefer are stored in the individual subject source documents. So that's that particular section. Then you have local lab certificates, central lab, lab manuals, reference ranges. These are all important, and let's discuss the lab manuals and the reference ranges. So for sites that are using the central lab, this is not a big issue. Most sites, luckily, are using a central lab where the sponsor has selected a lab that will provide the same reference ranges to all the sites using the labs. So it makes it very easy and very clean in the EDC system. Well, sometimes sites, and you see this a lot at the academic medical centers, you see this at the hospitals, and you see this a lot in oncology, the sites use local labs. And this causes a problem because the EDC systems are not consistent amongst the sites when it comes to reference ranges. So, and especially if the site's using multiple labs, multiple local labs. So you're now going to have situations where you have different reference ranges depending on what lab was used. And so this could become a hassle to monitor, and it's important to understand that reference ranges can sometimes be different depending on the labs that are used, especially for local labs. Also in the ISF, you're going to have a blank set of case report forms. This is basically the template for the EDC system. Then you're going to have a section for note to file. So anywhere that a note to file is used, I prefer note to files go in the section or in the place where the note to file is discussing. So for example, if they're discussing a particular visit for a subject, the note to file should go in that particular visit section of the subject source binder. However, if a note to file is discussing something in the investigator site file, it should go into that section of the investigator site file. I don't personally like to have a separate note to file section in the investigator site file because it doesn't really make sense to have it there, but some investigator site files will have it there. And if you're a site or a CRA that prefers that the sites just put the note to file where they belong instead of in their own section, then you should instruct the site to simply have a note to file in the note to file section stating that that will be the process, that note to files will go where they are in the context of what they'll be discussing. So Hipaa Forms, this section includes all IRB approved and stamped versions of any of the Hipaa Forms, which is the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. Hipaa Forms basically assures patients in the United States of their privacy, and any sensitive information pertaining to their health information is going to be kept to strictly the people needing to treat them. So this is important that the sites have this in there. Protocol deviations or protocol exceptions. This is a section that should usually include the protocol deviation log. This should also include correspondence relevant to the issue and copies of the documents stored in reverse chronological order with the most current